moving on, we're going to be talking about deuterostomes now. So far we've been talking about protostomes. So if you don't remember what that means, review that part. But the last two groups that we're going to talk about are deuterostomes. So these are the phyla Echinodermata and phyla Chordata. This figure is in your textbook. So this is showing you where those are. And so we're going to talk about echinoderms first. We're not really going to say a whole lot about them, but you will look at them in the lab. So I wanted to go over them a little bit. Echinoderm means spiny skin. What these guys are starfish and sea urchins, things like that. And they have radial symmetry, so that's different than the other groups that we've been talking about so far, but their larvae are bilateral. They also have kind of a specialized system called the water vascular system. And what the water vascular system is it has like a ring canal, and it has these arms of, it's kind of like a water system, or like a sprinkler system or something that goes out. And along those arms, it has these little extensions with bulbs on the top called ampulla. And those ampulla have a little muscle around them. And those muscle, what will happen is it'll squeeze the air and water out of that little section. And that then creates a vacuum in this part, and that creates a suction. And so this is happening all along the bottom. So these are what they call the tube feet. Those are the little things that we're extending down. And as those are creating suction, you have that lining the bottom of each one of these arms. And literally, they can pull something like a clam apart with it because they create so much suction with those tube feet. So part of the water vascular system is about that. It's about like helping them, open things or get to their food. But the other part of it is it's distributing water that it draws in throughout the system. So it's acting basically like a cardiovascular system, because in the water is dissolved oxygen. It can also get rid of carbon dioxide that way. It does have a mouth. It's on the bottom side. It's not really showing you well here. And it has an anus on the top side. So it does have an alimentary canal, but it's kind of short. And but then the water, like that alimentary canal, will distribute some of the food particles into the water vascular system, and it will be digested along the arm. Each arm has some digestive glands along this water vascular system. It also has gonads in every arm, and the gonads will then create egg or sperm. They do have separate sexes, but they have external fertilization, so that egg or sperm will be distributed into the water. So these guys are fairly simple. There are 6 classes of them. You don't really need to know all of them, but I'll just show you. They are different kinds of, for example, starfish, regular sea stars here, brittle stars, sea urchins and sand dollars, sea lilies, feather stars, sea cucumbers, which are really strange things. If you've ever seen one, they're very odd looking. And then sea daisies. So those include all of the echinoderms. And they are basically put up here with the chordata because of the fact that they are deuterostomes. All right? So the next thing we're going to talk about is the chordates. The chordates includes vertebrates. Vertebrates means that it has a backbone, internal skeleton, etc. But some of the groups here will not have that. And you're going to see that even through the vertebrates, we're going to go from kind of a cartilaginous structure to a more mineralized structure. So that's kind of something that it is talking about. This is supposed to say refers. I don't know where I got that V from. Sorry about that. All right, so it has 4 features. The features are a notochord, a dorsal hollow nerve cord, pharyngeal slits, and muscular post-anal tail. So we're going to talk about each one of these a little bit. So what the notochord is a flexible rod that extends throughout the body. Later on, this will become, extensions of it, and will become like the vertebra. It'll become more segmented. It will become mineralized. So it will change through the different groups. It also has a dorsal hollow nerve cord, and that allows for the brain, but it also allows for nerves to come off of the nerve cord to be extended in different directions to support the different parts of the body. And it will have as the digestive tract is here, it'll have that post-anal tail. Notice that it has little groups. These are segments, muscle segments called somites, and that is very much a feature of this group. You might have noticed that segmentation became more prevalent throughout some of the groups that we've talked about so far. The last thing is pharyngeal slits with slits or clefts. What is happening here is the water will move into the mouth and then out of the slits. This can allow for either gas exchange, like through gills or something like that, or it could allow for filter feeding, depending on what the organism is doing. In us, for example, this later, we have this embryonically, but later it becomes part of our ear and our head and our neck region. So it's no longer looking like that at all. Also in us, the post-anal tail is no longer long, it's short. So like our coccyx, the end part of our vertebra is our post-anal tail. It looks more like a tail embryonically in us, and then later on it just gets a little bit shorter. All right, so the first group that we're going to talk about, so these are all, by the way, subphyla. Let me just show you here before we go there. Oh. I lost my paper, sorry. So this is one of the handouts that I gave to you. This will be useful to you for these groups. This is, all of these guys are the phyla that we've been talking about. So let's kind of go in here. So the phyla chordata is where we are. All of these big ones right here, these are subphyla, and then all of these are classes. All right. So we're going to start with the subphyla Cephalochordata, okay? And the Cephalochordata includes lanceolets. Lanceolets are just super simple looking. They're kind of rare, but there are some found in Tampa Bay. And they have all of the features that we've been talking about. Just some extra things that they have are the tentacles that are helping with their filter feeding. And they also have definite somites musculature in their body, and this allows them to move pretty well. Although they're lay in wait kind of predators. They like hang out in the soil. It's underneath the water, but in the soil, and then wait for something to flow by so that it can feed that way. Okay, so the next group is called Urochordata. Urochordates are tunicates or just urochordates. And they have basically, I used to have a professor that called them snot on a stick, because they actually literally don't look like much in nature. They look like a little gelatinous mass. But if you could see all of their parts, they have all the features that we've been talking about. And they basically will flow water in and out of this in-current siphon and excurrent siphon. As it does that, it goes by it's basically a filter feeder as well. So these are going to be used for gas exchange and collecting food. But it does actually collect that food and go through a stomach and then out an anus. So it's actually, has a digestive tract, so to speak. But other than that, it's pretty simple. It does have, all of the features that we've been talking about. Okay. All right. So the next group is, so let me back up here a little bit, are the cyclostomata. These are getting a little bit more, more advanced. They have cranium, that is, they actually have like something enclosing their brain that is hard, and it's cartilaginous at first and then later mineralized, protecting the brain. And then they also are considered vertebrates from here on out. So they mostly it's cartilage at first, and then it's going to get more mineralized. So everything from here out is considered a vertebrate. They also have true kidneys here. So this is the first time we've seen true kidneys. These other groups may have flame cells or some kind of other kidney-like organ, but still not true kidneys. And there are two classes in the cyclostomata. There are Myxini, which are hagfish, and the Petrozoitontida, I guess I said that right, are lamprey. Myxini hagfish don't have any jaws. They are mostly cartilaginous. They do have some keratin in their teeth, so their teeth are kind of hard, sort of raspy. And their skull is also cartilaginous, so they're pretty simple. The Petromyzontida or lamprey, they're mostly parasitic. There's a bunch of species. There's like 34 species or something. They have a cartilaginous skeleton like sharks. But their notochord has like an upward projections to them that protect the nerve cord. So the upward projections, say for example, in us would be our vertebra that is growing up and around our nerve cord, so it's even more protected. So these are starting to have some protection of the nerve cord from the notochord. Make sure you read about the fossils of these. They talk about like the evolution and some developmental interests. Okay, the next group is called the gnathostomes. These are jawed organisms. So everything from here on out has a jaw. And they have also an enlarged forebrain. They have better smell and vision. They have mineralized shoulder and pelvic girdles, meaning to support the paired appendages. And they have an axial skeleton that is partially mineralized, at least in some. The first class that we're going to talk about is chondrichthyes. Chondrichthyes are sharks, rays, and skates. They have a cartilaginous skeleton. They do have some mineralization in their jaw at the base of their scales, which is why they feel like sandpaper, and in their teeth. They have an oil gland that allows for some buoyancy, but it's not super buoyant. In other words, if they stop swimming, they'll sink. They have gills. Only in the mega shark, though, do they use those for suspension feeding. Otherwise, they're going to basically swallow big chunks of food. They have nostrils for smelling, so they're basically dead end. They don't go through to the, go into the mouth area or to the across the gills. So they're dead end, but they do smell. They have a spiral valve, which you will see when we dissect. The spiral valve basically is just kind of like a little corkscrew shaped stomach. Like inside it has like a corkscrew shaped valve, and the food is slowed down there, and it allows some time for digestion. In some sharks, like if they eat something like, a tennis shoe or something like that, it'll get stuck. It won't go through the spiral valve, which is why you might have heard the stories of people cut open sharks and there's pieces of, flip-flops or whatever there. They don't see color. They don't really have an eardrum, but they do have something called a lateral line that goes along their body that transmits sound to their middle ear. So they actually hear very well. And they have internal fertilization via a cloaca. Now, a cloaca is just an opening, and you'll see this in a lot of aquatic vertebrates. Cloaca is an opening in which the reproductive system, but also the excretory system and the digestive system exit the body. So it's basically kind of like a a little atrium or portal area that allows all those systems to go into one place and then go out, so they can, the animal organism can keep the water from adding pressure to those systems. Some of them are oviparous. What oviparous means is that they have eggs that they will lay outside of their body. Some are ovoviviparous. That means that they have eggs, but the eggs develop inside the body, and then they come out after they hatch. And then very few are viviparous, meaning that they actually have a placenta, and they have the babies that are born inside, and what happens is they eat the uterus and actually each other sometimes, before they come out.